It's interesting. Keefe D basically dodged the death penalty, according to District Attorney Wolfson. But they did have the death committee, and they felt as though, it wasn't a death penalty case. But did you see Keefe D's reaction in court when the judge asked would they need to convene for the death committee? Oh, yeah. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Blackjack. Life is like cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button notification. Also subscribe to the channel. It would be very much appreciated. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get right into it. I find it ironic. Keefe D, throughout his interviews and things like that, he really made no qualms about, riding up on Tupac and Suge and them and handling their business and doing what, he had to do. Like I said, he's a self-proclaimed gangster, you know what I mean? And like I said, at one time he was a respected guy in the streets. But yesterday, throughout all of the death and destruction that Keefe D has claimed to have reigned throughout his career as a gangster, as a street guy, right? We seen something that we rarely see. And it was when the judge asked the prosecutor, would they be... it's like a committee of death where they talk about whether the person who's charged with the crime of first-degree murder, right, will the prosecution be seeking the death penalty?
Okay, have you had a moment to speak with Mr. Davis about an arraignment?
We did, Your Honor, this morning.
Okay, are you prepared to go forward with the arraignment?
Yes, today, Mr.
Okay,
Davis.
before we get to that, we have one thing. Are you guys taking this to death review? And okay, the state is not seeking going to death review on this, so are you prepared?
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes, Mr.
What does
Davis.
that mean?
Okay, I'm asking in every murder case in every first-degree murder case, I have to ask the state if they are going to commit to a committee to try to seek the death penalty. I just asked them that and they said no. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay. So.
And in that instance, you saw Keefe D's whole expression change. And he raised his hand real fast. He was like, "Excuse me, what?" It is. I would say that's a dose of reality that a lot of people aren't ready for, because a lot of times people are quick to take somebody else's life for little or nothing, if you will, right? Something that could be possibly talked out, or if two people sat down, they could come to an agreement or agree to disagree on whatever their differences were at that particular time, right? Doesn't always call for gunplay. But the district attorney, Steve Wilson, basically confirmed that that they didn't feel like that the case involving Tupac and Keefe D, that it warranted the death penalty, if you will. And so, it seems to me that the tactic that was trying to be pulled off involving Keefe D was to keep postponing, hopefully postponing, to just postpone, and that's sometimes a strategy, sometimes a tactic in court. But the judge was like, no, we're going to appoint you a public defender. And then Keefe D raises his hand and he's smiling. And he was like, I would like to try to bring Ross Goodman into the case. And the judge told him basically that, well, Mr. Goodman knows how to opt in as your new attorney if you guys, basically come to an agreement, whatever, happens between Keefe D and him, and coming to an agreement. and agreeing to Mr. Goodman agreeing to join the case. And so, yeah, it set, you know, it set precedent for me, because I was like, wow, like all of the things that Keefe D has been saying over the years involving the situation, like, you know, we rode up on Tupac, and, you know, we begin the bussing and this, that, and the other, and all of the tough talk, you know. And then once that judge asked the prosecutor about that death penalty thing, he was like, excuse me, you know, he was shook up. You know, I think sometimes, you know, everybody think it's all well and sweet until death is at your door. You know, when they, you know, by Keefe D's own admission, he's created so much death and destruction throughout his life. So it was very interesting to me to see that happen. You know, as we know, he pled not guilty. I don't know what's really going to come of this, but like I said, I don't think he has a chance. You know, based on the fact that, you know, when you get a public defender, and you look at it from this perspective, when you get a public defender, basically you're being represented by the state, the same exact state that is actually prosecuting you, right? And the public defender and the prosecution, they basically golf together, they eat lunch together, and they basically know each other because they work so closely together, being they both work for the state. And so I just don't understand how Keefe D stands a chance based on the fact that he has, at least on 5 different occasions, admitted to the situation that he was involved in, basically incriminating himself. You know, they said they went to the, you know, they said the prosecutor said, but this is a case I and the committee discussed, meaning the death penalty committee discussed, and that we determined that this is not the kind of case that should proceed with seeking of the death penalty, he said. The thinking in every case is unique, and this is a case where we didn't feel it was appropriate to ask or to seek the death penalty. So, yeah, you know, even though Keefe D had admitted to the fact that they had went and they were looking for Tupac, you know, basically they were hunting for him. You know, usually cases like that where somebody is in their intent is to do harm. And like I said, not only was Keefe D's intent to harm Tupac based on what happened to his nephew Orlando Anderson, right? But he admitted it on tape. You know, and I find that to be very, very, very interesting. You know, so yeah, I just wanted to. I thought that was very interesting, man. Like I said, once again, you know, after all of the death and destruction, and you know, it finally hit home. And like I said, you know, Keefe D, it seemed like when he was asking for his lawyer or asking that Mr. Goodman basically try to join the case, that he had a little smile, a little smirk on his face. But it seemed like the judge, you know, she wasn't playing. She was like, you know, he was like, I still want Mr. Goodman back on the case. And he had spoke to the public defender. I guess the public defender basically was trying to give him some information. But I guess at this particular point, Keefe D doesn't even seem like he's worried about anything, to be perfectly honest with you. He doesn't seem, you know, I wouldn't say scared. He doesn't seem scared. He doesn't seem nervous. It seems like he's right at home. You know, he's been to prison so many times and dealt with these situations so many times. It's like a cakewalk, you know? So yeah, it's crazy, man, when you really, really think about it. Yeah, it's crazy. So we're going to see, you know, whether it ends up going to, you know, trial, or, you know, what I'm thinking, that evidently, or eventually, should I say, that Keefe D will eventually take a plea, or the prosecution will come with a plea. Because like I said, if he goes to trial, let's say if the district attorney offers Keefe D a plea bargain, right? And he turns down the plea bargain for whatever reason he think that he can beat the case, right? And they take it to trial and he lose, they're going to give him life in prison. He's never going to see, he's going to die in a prison cell, you know? And so that's the part that I don't think I don't think Keefe D really gets at this particular point. But like I said, one time he had said something about him having cancer, something like that. So I don't know where his mindset is from that perspective. But I do know that Las Vegas and the state of Las Vegas and the prosecution and the DA's office and all of that, they're trying to put this behind them. And they want to send an example with Keefe D. And if he allows himself to be made an example, you best believe they are going to deliver. And as we see, he doesn't really have money for an attorney. So I don't even know how, even if, let's say something went wrong during the prosecution of the case, during the case where Keefe D saw that he could appeal, he could file an appeal, right? You're dealing with the public defender's office. Usually to file appeal, it costs money. That's a whole separate, thing. That's like, longer hours and, more work involved in your lawyer having to do that. And so, yeah, it's a long, long road. It's a long road. It's a long road. And so, yeah, I just thought that was interesting yesterday when I seen that. I was like, wow. It's like, yeah, he heard when she said, well, we need to be, do you need the deaf committee on this, right? And he was like, what was that? He was shook up. Because like I said, once again, for somebody who has delivered death in their life and time, it was finally what he thought it was finally at his door, from that perspective, dealing with the courts. You know what I mean? So, I would say let this be a lesson to every youngster out there, man. You thinking like, I'm pulling a gun or, trying to, hurt somebody over something that, you could usually talk out. Hear your brother's side of the story first. You know what I mean? Before you think about putting a gun into your hand and, because you'll ruin your life. Keefe D is 60 years old. Even if they hit him with 20 years, if he lived to be 80, you're going to be 80 years old, And then you uprooted your whole family with this move, talking on YouTube and doing all of these things. So, yeah. I just thought it was interesting. So I can't wait to see, like, when and if the trial starts, like I said, and or will they come to some kind of a plea agreement? Tell me what you guys think down below. Your boy DELRAY, Straight Gang.